If you're old enough, you might remember that McDonald's used to run a lottery thing called the Monopoly prize game. Basically, McDonald's partnered with Hasbro to give away houses, cars, luxury cruises, or the grand prize of $1 million to one out of every 150 million people who ate at McDonald's.
The game Monopoly has come to life at McDonald's with a McDLT, Coca-Cola, or $1 million.
McDonald's will give you $1 million. What you do with it is up to you. The excitement of the Monopoly game is back at McDonald's. Just buy America's favorite prize.
These Monopoly game pieces and instant win cards were attached to drink cups, french fry packets, burger boxes, and even on advertising inserts in magazines. All you had to do was find the right set of properties or an instant win piece and you could walk away with anything from a free soda to an entire house and more. It was a genius marketing tactic. All over the US and Canada, people were going crazy until it all went wrong. Armed robbers would even hold up restaurants and force employees and customers to hand over their Monopoly game pieces. Americans and Canadians everywhere were scrambling to become overnight millionaires, but what was weird was that it seemed like no one ever won. Sure, there were odd winners here and there.
We bought our breakfast, and I got my hash browns, coffee, whatever, and filled it off, and there it was.
But for a game that was supposed to have 2 people win $1 million a year, things were a little quiet. A little too quiet. Prizes were disappearing and no one knew why. McDonald's was giving away $2 million a year, but no one knew who was winning that money. Were people hiding their identities so their friends and family wouldn't know? Was the game rigged? Not according to McDonald's. They said they didn't choose who won. An independent security company was in charge of sending the winning pieces to locations around the US. 12 years and $24 million later, and no one knew who the money went to. And it all centered around a guy named Jerome Paul Jacobson. See, Jerome Paul Jacobson found a way to scam McDonald's out of $24 million over 12 years. It's a story of theft, greed, it involved the mafia, the FBI, and he almost got away with it. Jerome Paul Jacobson had a lifelong streak of bad luck. As a teen, he applied for the Marines, but got turned down due to high arches in his feet. Then in 1976, he joined the Florida police force, but he injured his arm a year later and was put on medical leave. Just as he was recovering from his injury, Jerome collapsed with paralysis in his arms, legs, eyes, and respiratory system. He was diagnosed with a rare neurological illness, and his wife had to leave her job to look after him. Soon after, he was declared unfit to return to work. Then in 1981, Jerome's wife got him a job as a security auditor where she was working too. It looked like he finally caught a break. But the couple argued so much at work that 2 years later they got divorced. A pretty sad life. But then after his divorce, things suddenly began to change. At that job, Jerome got the reputation of being dedicated, having irreproachable work ethic, and coming down hard on anyone who broke the rules. He was the perfect security auditor and worked himself up to where he was in charge of the firm's most important clients, Simon Marketing. Simon Marketing just so happened to manage $500 million worth of marketing for none other than McDonald's. When the McDonald's Monopoly game started in 1987, Simon Marketing was put in charge of manufacturing and distributing the game pieces, and Jerome made sure they fulfilled this job without a hitch. He even inspected the shoes of the workers to make sure they weren't trying to steal any pieces. Workers wouldn't be allowed to go to the bathroom alone, and Jerome ordered everyone in the factory to be under watch 24 hours a day. A year later, Simon Marketing got Jerome to quit his current job to work for them. He was just that good. Jerome was now put in charge of taking care of the biggest winning game pieces. He would take possession of them, seal them in envelopes with tamper-proof tape, fly out to McDonald's factories in first class, and place them on food packaging that would be sent out to McDonald's locations. He even had the idea to add watermarks to the tickets so they couldn't be faked. So much trust was put into one man, and for years he never thought once about abusing his power. That is, until he found out the system was rigged anyways. Now, if you care about your life, you really should never eat fast food. A good rule of thumb to feeling a lot better in every way is to only eat real food. And to make real food, you're gonna need some solid kitchen knives. That's where Kamikoto comes in. Kamikoto makes these beautiful, handcrafted Japanese steel kitchen knives using centuries-old traditional techniques from Japan. These knives are used by a ton of chefs at Michelin-star restaurants from all across the world. They use real Japanese steel sourced from mills in Japan. Each knife is individually inspected and comes with a lifetime guarantee. You get real Japanese steel at a fraction of the cost. Each knife comes in a beautiful, heavy-duty ash wood box, which makes them a great gift. Inside you get a certificate of authenticity. The knives feel super solid like a giant hunk of Japanese steel in your hand. And of course, they are very, very sharp. Oh! I recommend this 3-piece Konpeki set, which comes with a vegetable knife, a slicing knife, and a little utility knife. And right now, Kamikoto is having their Valentine's Day sale, which means you get an extra $50 off when you use discount code JakeTran. All you have to do is head to kamikoto.com/JakeTran with the link below, choose the knife set you want, use discount code JakeTran at checkout for $50 off. That's kamikoto.com/JakeTran with discount code JakeTran with the link below. Thanks to Kamikoto for sponsoring this video. By the late 1980s, Jerome Jacobson was earning $70,000 a year to fly first class and boss people around. This was all he ever dreamed of, but somehow he still felt like he wanted more. One day, Jerome noticed that whenever Canada was chosen as the destination for an instant win tickets, it would immediately be scrapped and rerouted somewhere in the US. Simon Marketing was rigging the game. This is an extremely important turning point for our guy Jerome. Think about it, he spent his entire life struggling, only to find out his entire existence was based on a lie, on a rigged system. One can only imagine how disillusioned he felt. So he collected the information on the rigging and kept it in his back pocket for later. Not long after, a set of anti-tamper stickers were accidentally mailed to his house. These were seals for the game piece envelopes, and it was the only thing he needed to rig the game in his favor, and he got right to work. Whenever he was on a flight to drop off the game pieces, an independent auditor, usually a woman, would tag along and watch him. The only place she couldn't follow him was the toilets, so that's where he made the swap. He would open the envelope, remove the instant win card, replace it with a less valuable piece, and then replace the tamper-proof tape, and no one was the wiser. Now there was just one last problem to solve in Jerome's rackets. He couldn't cash in the game pieces himself. McDonald's would want pictures and interview, and then they would realize that he was the main guy in charge of the game and he would be exposed. So he turned to his friends and family. Jerome gave his brother a winning piece worth $25,000, then he gave his local butcher one that was worth $10,000 in exchange for $2,000 of the earnings. He built up his courage and finally stole a $1 million prize piece and immediately hid it in a safety deposit box. He wanted it all to himself. The next $1 million piece he stole, he sent to the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital in Tennessee. And now that he built up some confidence, it was time to step it up a notch. Jerome recruited his clients at random in his states. A guy he met on the plane, someone from his barbershop. It was always random, which made it difficult for cops to connect the dots. He would sell game pieces to people up front or take a percentage of their winnings after they claimed the prize. Then he would arrange for his clients to travel out of state, rent an apartment, a car, pay bills, all to make it look like they really lived in the state they claimed the prize from. Jerome was making big money, but then he met a member of the Colombo Mafia family, a wise guy by the name of Jerry Colombo. Then, the operation just got bigger. Instead of selling only the $1 million prize pieces, Jerome started stealing other prizes too. He sold Colombo the winning ticket for a Dodge Viper. And with his new crime family connections, he wasn't just selling to his neighbors or family anymore. He was selling to mob members, pimps, drug dealers, anyone with the money to afford these grand prizes. Every time these people claimed their prizes, they avoided any publicity. They obviously wanted their privacy. But after 12 years of every winner refusing to show their face, people started to get suspicious. By 1998, almost all of Jerome's family members had cashed in on some kind of game piece, and Jerome finally got to enjoy the good life as a true racketeer. He was spending his hard-earned cash on every luxury product he could get his hands on. He bought land all over the US, started an antique car collection, and paid for his friends and family to go on expensive cruises. Jerome's neighbor watched in amazement as the number of cars he had just kept going up, often joking about where the winning tickets were going to. But no one ever expected he was doing anything wrong. He just didn't seem like the type. And Jerome kept raking in the money, until something completely unforeseen happened that would change the course of Jerome's life forever. In 1998, around 10 years since this racket started, Jerry Colombo and his wife argued almost every day. They were on the brink of divorce and wanted to give their marriage another shot. But it was never meant to be, because soon after, they got into a massive car accident with his wife behind the wheel. Jerry Colombo died in the hospital, and suddenly all eyes were on his wife. Had she killed him because of their fighting? Or had it been our guy Jerome, tired of sharing his money? Without Jerry Colombo to find new clients, Jerome had to find new middlemen fast, and that's where things went downhill. He recruited 3 men to help. They would find clients, get them to pay, and then their clients would find winning game pieces in magazines, thrown in the back of their cars, or even in a pile of trash at home. No one suspected any foul play, and it was the perfect operation. Except the Colombo family, suspicious, angry, and looking for revenge, had found a reason to make Jerome their next targets, and soon the whole operation would come crashing down around him. In March 2000, an anonymous caller told FBI Special Agent Dent that a man named Uncle Jerry was rigging the McDonald's Monopoly game. The rat? Probably someone from the Colombo crime family. Agent Dent immediately called a McDonald's spokesperson to share the news and begin the investigation. Suddenly, a lot of questions came bubbling to the surface. Why did none of the winners want to go public? Where are they now? And if this Uncle Jerry was rigging the game, who else was involved? Worried, McDonald's suspended the competition in 2001.
We really trusted them to run the game for us. We had to end the relationship to gain the trust back with our customers.
They quickly identified Uncle Jerry as our guy Jerome, but the FBI needed proof, so they launched Operation Final Answer. Operation Final Answer involved months of surveillance on Jerome and his associates. The group had become so comfortable with their methods that after 12 years they never expected the FBI to be watching. They installed a wiretap on Jerome's phone, which led them to a huge ring of sidekicks, strip club owners, and convicts. FBI surveillance even trailed Jerome all the way to South Carolina, where he met with a guy named John Davis. The FBI couldn't catch the transfer of the winning piece on tape, but 8 days later, the McDonald's rep called Agent Dent and told him that someone had called in to claim that they found the winning piece. The winner? John Davis, the man Jerome just sold to. Now the FBI had everything they needed. More than 50 people were arrested and tried. Jerome Jacobson was interrogated for 6 hours, during which he confessed to all the charges against him. He admitted to having stolen most of the big winning pieces over the past 12 years, and in exchange for his confession, Jerome would accept 15 years in jail. All his luxury cars and property were seized. And Simon Marketing, the company that was in charge of the Monopoly game, it was dissolved. It was one of the biggest, most complex forms of mail fraud in history, and yet it was forgotten in less than a day. Why? Because the court case started on September 10, 2001. The very next day, the worst terrorist attack on American soil happened, and America instantly forgot about the guy that robbed McDonald's out of $24 million. Subscribe for more business documentaries on money, power, war, and crime just like this one for free. And if you want a documentary on everyone's favorite private island owner, Jeffrey Epstein, we have a private documentary coming out on him in the next few weeks, available to only members of the channel. Click the join button below to be the first to watch that one and all the other private documentaries that are already out. And if you join and don't think it's worth it, email me and I will personally refund you the money.